Hi, my name is Rebecca Lucero, and I'm going to be presenting this PowerPoint on adult children of alcoholics. The information on this PowerPoint is taken from the book by Claudia Black called It Will Never Happen to Me. She has a chapter in her book that specifically addresses adult children of alcoholics, and that's where this information is taken from. So first, I want to talk about the strengths of children raised with addiction. Often I think, when we're talking about adult children of alcoholics, we are talking about people with deficits, and we're really focused on the negative things that have occurred as a result of living in a home with addiction. But there's also a lot of strengths that these people have, and so I wanted to kind of point that out first so that we can be aware of that as we talk about adult children of alcoholics. So first off is often they can be very organized. Sometimes they will be goal-oriented or a good planner. These are going to develop as a result of kind of being the person who is the parent in the home, right? If mom and dad are both addicts or away, then they are not going to be filling in the roles of parents, right? Which would be to organize and plan things. So sometimes the children will develop these in the absence of parents who are, serving as examples of these skills. Also, they could be good at manipulating others, right? These children often don't have parents that are able to look out for them, so they, become pretty proficient at learning how to get what they need. That includes manipulation, right? So that is a skill that they often will develop over time. Also, leadership skills, that also goes along with them serving as kind of the parent role as the person who is sober in the home. Also, they will be independent, right? They've learned that they can't depend on their parents or other people in the home, so they learn to kind of do things on their own. And then self-reliant, which is pretty similar to independent, but again, that they are able to rely on themselves to get what they need because they haven't been able to rely on others. So a lot of these skills can help them in many ways later in life. Okay, next we're going to be talking about the roles of children raised with addiction. So you've had this in some of your readings where we talked about roles in the addict family. She has some kind of different ideas for the roles of children raised with addiction, specifically looking at adult children of alcoholics. But I thought that the conceptualization of these particular roles was also very useful in addition to the ones that were in your previous readings. She talks about the responsible child, right? This is the little adult in the house, the person who is taken on the roles of the parent, right? This is the person that might be putting dad to sleep because dad is drunk. The person that's taking charge of the keys so somebody doesn't drive drunk, cooking for younger siblings, whatever needs to be done. This is the child that basically is making up for the parents that are not functioning as parents. We also have the adjuster, right? This is somebody in the home. And in her book, she describes it in a way that this person is not like a peacemaker, right? This is not somebody that's trying to take care of other things or make things right. This is just a person that adjusts. So they don't ask questions. They're just going to do what they're told. They stop thinking. They're really what she describes as too flexible. This person is detaching emotionally, physically, and socially, and just doing whatever they need to do to go along with what's going on in the home. And that's how they survive this environment. We also have the placater. Now, this is the person that takes care of everyone else's emotional needs. So often this person, as they get older, will not know what they feel or what they want or what they need. This person is so busy taking care of everybody else who's being harmed by the addiction that they often they're not taking care of themselves. So you can kind of imagine, right, if dad is, an alcoholic and isn't paying attention to mom and mom is crying, this is the person that's going to go there and try and be there for mom. Then we also have the acting out child. So this is the child who's going to be angry and confused and scared. Maybe this is the one that's getting in fights at school, getting in trouble, bad grades as a result of the chaos in the home. So here's a list of some problems that we have found are true for children raised with addiction. So these are some of the things that adult children of alcoholics talk about when they talk about how their home environment affected them. They have trouble trusting self and others, identifying needs and feelings. They struggle to do that. They have trouble listening. They have a lot of trouble relaxing. There's a lot of anxiety usually. They have trouble initiating things. They have a fear of feelings often in the home where there's been addiction. It's not okay to have any other feeling but anger. So it's really scary to feel something because most feelings are treated as something that shouldn't be, right? There's a lot of shame for feeling anything. There's a fear of abandonment or rejection, thinking about just how parents haven't been there for them, how they haven't had their needs met. This makes a lot of sense. They've never had somebody that they can truly rely on. A fear of conflict. A lot of times in homes where there's been addiction, there can be a lot of conflict, and conflict will escalate very quickly when somebody's under the influence of a substance. So conflict will, their experience with conflict has often been violent. So any conflict can be very scary. Also, they'll have a lot of need to control, right? They've been growing up in chaos. They're going to want to control whatever they can. They have impoverished or unrealistic expectations, right? So they either don't feel like they can expect anything, or they expect way too much. So they don't really have a balance of what maybe relationships or life should look like. It's either kind of the hell they have been in, or the dream that they hope, that they can escape to. Also, they'll feel rage, they'll deal with depression, a lot of relationship difficulty, and also they might struggle with addiction themselves, right? So in order to cope with the chaos in their home, they might have resorted to using substances themselves and become addicted. So in order for an adult child of an alcoholic to recover, Claudia Black talks about two basic rights, and I think this is really important for anybody who's an ACOA, is finally recognizing that they have these two rights. And that is first the right to talk about real issues and the right to feel. For so long in their environment, they basically functioned around the addiction. So being able to say that their feelings matter and being able to talk about the issues, I think is really freeing for them. Also, recovery is going to require them to explore their past and acknowledge reality. And this is really more useful if they can do this within the family, right? If the family can recognize that addiction was a problem and they stop living in the secrets that have maintained the addiction, that can be very helpful for recovery. Also, connecting to the past to the present can be really important. So often if somebody gets sober, they can't always remember the past the way the sober people do. And so being able to connect the past of what they've experienced to what they feel now and what's going on now in the family can be really helpful in being able to move forward. Also, challenging internal beliefs, right? Some of those things that we mentioned in the slide earlier, you have to do with some internal beliefs that are very negative, right? Like depression, having trouble initiating, having trouble listening or communicating, relationship difficulties. A lot of those are going to stem from internal beliefs that they aren't good enough, that they're a failure, that they don't matter, that they're not important, right? It's hard to feel like you're important if you grow up with parents that are addicts that really don't have time or energy or emotional capacity to help you. Also, it's going to be important for the ACOA to learn healthy coping skills. In their home, they never learned that from their parents, and they may often be addicts themselves. And so this is going to be really important because they've never probably been taught these skills anywhere else. And then lastly, it's helpful to do a family tree or genogram and look at the family line and see where addiction and different family dynamics have played out to understand where they come from, why things are the way they are. That can be very healing and also help people to not take responsibility. Oftentimes people can feel like they are the sole person to blame, and being able to do a genogram and understand more things about your family helps people to realize how this developed and also find ways to change it and enter recovery. I also really like this quote that Claudia Black included in her book. It says, "Recovery is the ability to tolerate feelings without the need to medicate." That is a very useful skill and is very hard to do, to sit in our feelings and let those play out. It's easier to avoid them or to medicate, and this is something that's really useful for all of us. And then this is a little poem that she included in the book, but I thought it gave some perspective for those who have been through this. So this is an adult child of an alcoholic who wrote this, and so I just wanted to share it with you. But she writes, "Until I was 22, I didn't think anyone else had a drunk for a mother. Then I met Lori, Joni, and Susan. I recognized them immediately by their stay-away smiles. They were leaders in their work, competent imposters like me, who would say they were sorry if somebody bumped into them on a crowded street. I call on them once in a while. They always come. Children of alcoholics always do." Anyway, I just thought that would be something for you to ponder and kind of think about that person's perspective and maybe why she wrote some of the things she wrote. But I thought that was very insightful into how she experiences being an adult child of an alcoholic. Anyway, I hope this PowerPoint was helpful in maybe addressing some other issues that we hadn't addressed in other places, but might help you to get a better idea of why it's important to specifically talk about adult children of alcoholics and what they encounter. Thanks for listening.